Jessica, you are my girl. I cannot wait till you take on the world. Your bubblegum shades and your green hair. When you show up, everyone stares. Baby, you're free economy. Yeah, it's the perfect drug for me. Hey, we left behind the BTC and found a big Costco hot dog. You and me, yes. Bitch, you know you are mine. Yes. Jessica, habla, babe. When I'm with you, what can I say? When we're together, baby, I got no fear. All my transactions are peer to peer to peer.
It's a CBDC nightmare. A purely peer-to-peer version.
There will be no real non-controlled currency in the world.
We're coming for you, banks.
Increasing the block size to 32 megabytes right now. What would be the top 5 arguments that would get hurled against me?
Oh, that's a good one.
There are a few that the big blockers got right.
Ching, like all these coins splash into the wallets of all the winners. I love that.
There's a new threat out there. It's crypto.
We are live.
Hello and welcome back to the Bitcoin Cash podcast. Following Bitcoin Cash on its rise to global reserve currency, this is episode number 115, Technical Analysis and Samourai Shutdown, featuring Czar Gets Crypto. Today is Sunday, the 28th of April, 2024. I'm your host, Jeremy. Jet is doing the producing, same as always. And our guest is a technical analyst and YouTuber, and I believe, longtime listener to the show. Welcome to the show, man. How you doing? How'd you get into crypto?
Doing good. I'm doing good. It's first, I just want to say thank you for having me on. It's an honor to be here. I have been a longtime fan of the show since before I even actually had a channel. So it's really cool to meet you guys, and just want to say thank you for having me on. My journey with crypto, I guess, just starting back in 2015. You know, I wasn't quite 21 yet. And I wanted a fake ID to do things that 21-year-olds do. So I was trying to figure out ways to do that. And everybody that facilitated novelty IDs, they accepted cryptocurrency. I'm like, what the hell is cryptocurrency? And looked into it. I never knew anything about it. I just looked into it and kind of figured out like the basics of it. Just, okay, it's money that you can send at to anybody anywhere in the world at any time of the day, any day of the week. It's 24/7. And there's only 21 million Bitcoins. I was like, this is kind of cool. I'm going to start putting $100 of my paycheck. This is back when I worked at a movie theater. So I was making like $300 a week, like full time. That was a while ago too. That's, and I was living with my mom. I was younger. I was a teenager. And, so I was planning on putting $100 a week into Bitcoin at that time, but my first interaction with it was to just buy it for novelty IDs, and I had some Bitcoin saved, and then I sold it whenever it doubled in price, and I intended to add to it. And then again, this is in 2015, so this is before the Bitcoin Cash hard fork. I intended to add to it, and I went on vacation, and I don't know what happened, man, but I genuinely forgot about crypto. It wasn't a thought in my head until 2017 came around, and everything's popping off, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I messed this up. I forgot I was supposed to put $100 a week into this thing. This was back when Bitcoin, like the cheapest I ever bought Bitcoin was like $250 or $400 between that range, and then by the time I saw it, it was already above 10K. So it's just like that $100 a week just doesn't stretch as far, My first major investment in Bitcoin that I put in about $5,000 near the top, at about 18K. It dumped all the way down to 6K. I told myself I'm going to hold. It's all going to be good. People are talking about 50K. I'm not new to Bitcoin necessarily, but I am because I forgot about it. I hadn't done a bunch of studying on it. This was the kind of the key point for me where I got serious, because I was putting serious money into it, not just money that was used for novelty purposes, and I was planning to invest with it. This was all the money. Again, I was working at a movie theater at that time. This is all the money that I saved over the years, $5,000. That was a lot of money to me at the time. And once Bitcoin hit 6K, going from 18K, I panic sold. I just did the classic maneuver, sold. And oh yeah. And if you guys know, and I'm sure you know well, that was the first low for Bitcoin right there. And then of course it bounced up to 12K, and I panic bought back to top. So I bought the high, sold the low, bought the high, and it gets better because I sold the low at 6K again. I was like, okay, it's at 6K again. It's going to go. I had no clue what I was doing, watching the media, doing all the newbie things, just absolutely slaughtered, man. Every single paycheck I had, I was putting it into crypto at that point, but pissing it away, not doing the proper just buy and hold kind of strategies. So, And I mean, there's other strategies to that. Obviously, if you get into technical analysis, as I did, being interested in trading, because obviously at that point I was kind of open to trading, right? Buying and selling, not just holding for the long term. You can utilize other strategies besides the long term. But for anybody, whether you're new, whether you're old, you're seasoned, you have experience in technical analysis or not, or markets that are even outside of crypto and you've been doing it for decades, like I think the best strategy for anybody is to just buy and hold and add more, for guaranteed returns and essentially not guaranteed losses as time goes on, because it's just kind of a mathematical probability that Bitcoin Cash, cryptos that are here, at least for, the foreseeable future, you're going to do well as long as you just hold. So it took me getting the hell beat out of me to just kind of figure out the strategies and the methods. But yeah, man, that's around the time that I got into technical analysis, because I had no idea what I was doing. And I saw various YouTubers talking about this, and I was like, oh my goodness, this, to me, it all seemed, I was new to this. I had no idea that technical analysis was a thing. And I'm like, what a lot of people say, I was like, this has got to be like astrology or just foo-foo nonsense, like is this real? Can you actually, like a weather forecast, can you have a price forecast? And you delve into that world, and there are a bunch of different ways to do it. There are so many different tools. There are so many different, you don't even need to use tools. It's the more you get into it, the more you learn. It's all about psychology, right? And it's essentially like what I was talking about at first with like beginners. The psychology is when you get into something and you put all your money in, you're thinking it's only going to go up. This is a great idea. Even if it goes down, I'll hold it. But then it goes, it goes to half, and you're like, okay, I'm in it now. But then it drops another like 50% from there, and you're like, okay, I might just salvage what I have. You make those beginner mistakes, and technical analysis and trading bots and just in any trader, really, they play off of these emotions. So that's whenever I say that psychology can be more helpful or can be useful, just like tools can be useful. I really mean that. You don't need to use tools to be a successful trader. Really what you need is risk management, and then some understanding of human psychology, and psychology within yourself really goes a long way. But yeah, I started watching various YouTube channels, looking up things on Google, wherever I could go to find information. I bought some books. I didn't really read them too much. I thought they were boring. It's hard to kind of, when you're talking about numbers and formulas and different like approaches to how you should trade, it can be boring. But there are some good books out there. I don't know. I'm not trying to belittle myself here. I just don't like to read that much, I guess. But you guys mentioned Mitch Ray, right? You mentioned Mitch Ray in the Discord recently talking about how he was talking about Bitcoin Cash. And I actually learned a lot from Mitch Ray in the beginning. I kind of watched his methods. I was on his live streams all the time. There's people like Eric Crown, who I really admire in the space. And it's kind of funny because they both hate each other. I'm pretty sure, like Mitch Ray and Eric Crown, I don't think they like each other. I'm not trying to put words in people's mouths, but I've seen them. I've seen it in the past. You know, they don't really talk about each other now. But anyways, I'm getting off topic, man. I'm just really excited to be here. And I talk a lot whenever I'm excited. But
yeah, no, it's good. It's good. So you started getting into technical analysis, and then with that, were you able to turn around the ship a little bit on your investing strategies?
Yes. So, you know, the biggest issue really for, I think, any person getting into technical analysis is whenever you find out about leverage trading. Whenever you find out about leverage trading, that is I don't even know how to describe it, man. It's like riding a bull, right? That just got pissed the hell off. It's like riding a bull, but you don't even know what a bull is. Like, it's your first time interacting with this. You know, you have no hope. You if you make it with leverage trading in the beginning, it's either lucky or you're one of the rare people who you're just meant for it, and that happens apparently. But you know, most people who introduce themselves with leverage trading, especially on an early phase in their journey to trading, it tends not to work out well. Everybody has the same story. You know, it's all various variations of essentially the same story where, you know, and that's the thing. I'd watch YouTube channels like Carl from the Moon, Da Vinci, other people, you know, in that kind of like area, and they would talk about 25x leverage like that's nothing. They're like, you know, I might go low, I might do a 25x leverage, and it took me like 3 years to figure out that's ridiculous. And now I look back at it, I'm like 20, like 100, because there's 100x, there's that opportunity, right? And it's 100x is just insane. That shouldn't, unless you're trading 4x, it doesn't make sense to use 100x leverage really on anything. If you get in and get out of there, I mean, there are people that do it, you know, successfully, but it's a quick path to get you wrecked. And a lot of people on crypto, in crypto YouTube, crypto X, they talk about 10x leverage like it's low, 20x leverage like it's low. And really, like, the fact of the matter is, when you, at least in my opinion, I think 5x leverage is high. I think that's a high amount of leverage. So for anybody watching, if you're new to technical analysis, if you're new to crypto, if you're new to leverage trading or any of that, and you see all these people talking about high leverages, stay away from it. You're a beginner. Do a 2x leverage, do a 1x leverage. Don't even do leverage, really. Like, actually don't even do it. Just paper trade, if anything, and then hold your actual account. Really, if you're new, you should try to stay away from trading. And I understand well, and all too well, the dynamic of wanting to make more money fast. You're in crypto now. There's already been 4 bull cycles, or this is the 4th bull cycle, you know, as far as Bitcoin goes. And you might feel late to the party, but you are not late to the party. If you play it right, you're going to make more money, probably, very likely, like with a high degree of certainty, you're going to make more money if you just sit on your hands and learn first than if you try to make it all up now for a missed opportunity that you didn't have, you know. But not everybody, you know, everybody finds out about crypto or gets on the train at various points. You know, some people have heard about crypto for the past decade, and they didn't get in on it until the ETFs were approved, because that just was the stamp of approval, you know, in their mind. But yeah, for me, getting back to the topic, I have a way of getting off topic. I'm sorry, but for me, learning to just not leverage trade was really the turnaround point for me. The last cycle, the bull run, you know, I leverage traded basically from the time that I figured it out until the end of the 2019. I guess even like the beginnings, like around COVID, is probably the last time that I was like seriously into day trading and leverage trading, around COVID. So I'd been leverage trading from early 2018 to 2019, 2020 at that point, you know, that, and just no money, man. I hit zero 4 times. I literally, all the money that I'd been saving, all the money that I'd put in, I'd be up and then I'd be down. I'd have those runs where I'd go from 1K to 20K or higher, and it would go all to zero. I know what it's like to hit zero, and people ask all the time, what's a good amount to get in with? I started with zero 4 different times, man. You know, I was living at my mom's house. thank God for her. She's a saint. She really is. Like she was aware. I have a very open relationship with her. So she was aware that I was losing my money. And she still took care of me and my brother, and because of her, I was able to save up money, be in a safe place to kind of get all that reckless behavior out. And I'm fortunate for that, but there are a lot of people who aren't necessarily in that same circumstance. They might be older, they might not have a solid relationship with their parents, or their parents just might not support them in that way because that's their style of parenting, or the world is just a tough place. It's hard for everybody to like group together. I think it's easier to group together actually, but what I'm trying to say is finally saved up. I was done with like trading and I saved up about 10K. I got into BTC at about 19K right before it really took off. I was convinced we were going to have one more pullback in that 2020 phase. I thought we were going to, and then I wasn't convinced anymore. So I just put it all into BTC. I bought some BCH. I put about $5,000 into BCH too. And yeah, it did pretty well for me at first. And then I heard about Dogecoin. And I'd known about Dogecoin. I feel like I'm going all over the place, but I've known about Dogecoin for a while. And I thought my first opinion about Dogecoin was that it was just a scam, it's a joke. I didn't, just like everybody when they first hear about it, it's a joke. What's the point of that? Now meme coins are all the fad, but I'd known about it. And then I hear Elon Musk talk about it in like December of 2019 or something like that. And back when Doge was below a penny. So I'm like, well, if it's good enough for Elon, it's good enough for me. I'm an Elon fanboy, personally. I don't know him, obviously. The media can make people look good or make people look bad. You don't really know them. Like, I don't know who he is or like how he is as a person, but to me, I think he's good for the world. I think the world would be a darker place without him, but enough about that. If it was good enough for him, it was good enough for me. So I took all the money that I'd made in the short amount of time, like with whatever gains I had in Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, and I just put it all into Dogecoin. I literally YOLO'd into Dogecoin. I guess that's not true. I'm sorry. I'm remembering it improperly, guys. I'm sorry. No, I didn't quite YOLO into Dogecoin at that point. Below a penny, I put about $2,500 in. And then whenever it went up to 8 to 10 cents, that run, and then it pulled back to 2.5 cents, that's when I YOLO'd in. I put in everything into it at that point. And that's where I made a majority of my money was from Dogecoin last cycle. And it wasn't from trading. It was literally just from buying and holding. Clearly, like I just said, I did a quick little trade where I literally sold at 8 cents. It just looked right. It felt right. It pumped up so much in like a course of 24 hours. Came back down, bought into that, held it throughout the whole cycle all the way up to 70 something cents. And at that point, I was overall, like, from my first initial investment, I was at like a 96x in profits, and I didn't take profits. And I waited for it to keep going. I thought it was going to keep going. I wasn't aware that the bull market was over just yet. But I averaged out basically with a 14x on Dogecoin. So that's kind of where I made most of my money for the beginning, but I've been saving up money and doing little trades here and there, and just investing with myself and my family, building to the stack ever since. But I've probably skipped over quite a few things, but there's one person in my life who there's several people in my life who I'm very grateful for that put me in the position I am, for sure. Like without my family, I don't know how much I would have been able to save. It wouldn't be the same if I couldn't live with my mom. Like, it really wouldn't be. But there's one person who I admire. He's a personal friend of mine, and I watched him. He didn't trade at all. He didn't like technical analysis. He didn't trade or anything like that. It's not that he didn't like technical analysis. It wasn't something he practiced. Trading wasn't a thing that he practiced, and he just bought and hold. And I saw him go from 6 figures to 7 figures, and in the course of one cycle. I'm like, damn, he didn't even trade. He's outperforming me. That's there's something to it, and it just took me basically like 4 years to get that instilled in my head. From the time that I started to the time that I really started getting that long-term holding kind of psychology in my head. It took that long, I guess. Yeah. I feel like I've skipped over a few things.
Well, this is a wild story, right? So you've been through all these ups and downs. You've lost a ton of money. You've lost it a few times. Then you finally, through luck or skill, hit on a winner, made it a lot of it back or whatever. It's all going great, and then at this point, you see your friend has made money from just DCA and hold, and then you're like, let me start a technical analysis YouTube channel or something. Explain how that came into it.
So I wanted to do a YouTube channel since I first saw, I feel like I'm a talkative person. I'm a social person. I feel like it was something that I wanted to do for a while, but I didn't want to do it until I had something to show for it. I didn't want to be giving it, even if I thought my TA was good, and I did think it was good. I made the wrong decisions. I did not have proper risk management. And that's the thing. I tell people this on my channel all the time. You can be right 9 out of 10 times and lose money. You can be wrong 9 out of 10 times and make money if you have proper risk management. So being right, being wrong, you see all these people talk about, like, they try to validate how right they are all the time. And it's like, that's cool. Don't get me wrong. I would rather be more right than I'm wrong. But it doesn't mean anything, especially to the new people or people who aren't as seasoned who are watching you. It's like, it actually doesn't matter how much you're right or wrong. It matters if you make those horrible mistakes, like buying at 18K and then selling at 6K, and then buying back at 12K and then selling at 6K, and then buying at 10K and then not selling at 6K, but when it drops to 3K, then you sell. I begged my mom to buy Bitcoin back at 3K because I was pretty low on funds, but she definitely could have bought some, and she wasn't certain of it because, again, I'd lost some money doing it, so that made her not certain of it. But as it went to 19K, I convinced her to get in. So she actually has a large bit of, I don't know, I'm not trying to put that on blast, I guess, but she's bought and she's got a little bit of Bitcoin, that's for sure, and some cryptos and stuff, and she's done good for herself. And then I've gotten other family members into it too, like my grandparents, and I've got some friends that I've gotten into it, stuff like that. But I'm getting off topic again, man. What I'm trying to say about the YouTube channel is that I wanted to do it for a long time, but I didn't feel like I had the backing financially to solidify that. Like, if people were to ask me questions like how much money do you have? First off, I'm not going to answer that. I don't like to say that, because that's private. And then also, so everybody's in a different financial position. You don't need to compare yourself to other people, but mainly because it's just private. But I didn't feel comfortable giving advice, even if I had good results. And I did have good results. I was correct more often than I was wrong. And I had that on paper. I used to keep track of all of it. I had a point where I had like 20 winning trades in a row. And this was before I hit my zero for the last time. So again, it doesn't matter how many trades you get right or wrong. You can still lose it all if you have poor risk management. If you're just degenerately gambling and using leverage trading, especially if you're using leverage trading, it's all going to go away. So then whenever I finally had money and I felt like I was more stable in my mental capacity, I'm not just doing leverage trading every single day, I felt more relaxed and less manic with it. It seemed like an appropriate time to start a channel. And I feel like I don't really keep track of my calls as of now, but I do feel like I make more correct calls than I do incorrect calls. But again, that doesn't really matter. The main thing is even whenever I am incorrect, like if I'm projecting it to go up, whatever crypto, the price to go up, and the price goes down, well then if you just hold, you can hold through that sell, and then the next time it comes up, it doesn't matter if you're wrong, you'll be right inevitably. And then if you have cash, if you have a job or income through other means, you can add to that stack too, so that whenever it does go up, you're going to have even more cash than if I was correct and it went up instead of going down, if that makes sense. But then let's say you're convinced that the price is going to go down, and you're just buying and holding. If it goes up, then you're wrong, but you're still making money. And when you're wrong and you're making money, that's kind of the best, because generally speaking in the trading world, not generally, very literally speaking, when you're wrong, you're losing money if you're trading. Even if it's a little bit of money, you're losing money. But if you're buying and holding and you're wrong, you can't lose money. The price will fluctuate, whatever, but you'll only go up over time. And I do plan on taking money out. I do plan on selling my assets during the end of this bull cycle, which I project is actually going to be sometime in 2025. A lot of people are thinking it's going to be shorter than that. It'd be sometime this year that we find the top, but I'm not convinced of that personally. But who knows? It's any person's game, and there will be signs. That's the beauty of it too. Is if you're like me and you're trying to buy and hold throughout the whole market cycle, that's kind of the goal here, right? It's not that I never want to sell. My mom's calling me now, actually. That's fine.
Yeah, you might have to check the oven in a minute too for dinner.
Yeah.
By the way.
Oh yeah, has it been going off? I can't. I didn't know. Has it gone off?
I don't know. We're just hitting about half an hour. You said to give you a reminder. So
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, it might be loud too. Oh yeah, I got about 1 minute, so I might have to check on that in just a second. But what was I saying? I forget.
Can I hop in real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's one thing that you said that reminded me too much of BitConnect, and it was if you don't sell, you won't lose your money. It will go up inevitably. Let's push back against that, because there's clip I posted a couple podcasts back where the guy's sitting in the car and he's like, "You didn't lose your money." Well, technically, you did lose your money.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I'm glad you said that, because I do this thing where I feel like whenever I speak, I know what I'm saying, and then words can be interpreted 10 different ways, like no matter what you say. And clearly, I would say very clearly, I hope, and I can understand where it'd be misunderstood for some people, but most cryptos, there it is. I'll get that in just a second. Most cryptos are not meant to be held for a lifetime. They're not meant to be held for more than a year or a year and a half, more than just a cycle. That's not the point. You look at it right now, I would bet a solid bit of money if you looked at the top 100 coins, even including stable coins, right? 90% of them, if not more, will not be here. They won't be on that list in 10 years, 20 years, maybe even next cycle. It changes all the time. And there are coins like Ethereum and XRP, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin that have maintained those upper rankings, those higher rankings, and there's new people or new coins like Solana, Avalanche, I'm drawing blanks here on some other like Dot,
BNB, whatever, yeah.
BNB, yeah. And I think BNB, as long as Binance doesn't get the hammer from like the SEC or some legal entity, I might have to get that right now.
Yeah, get that. We'll check in on the price while you're doing it.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So we got the bull market still kind of looking a bit cancelled on us. USD $479.78 to buy 100 megasats, which is down a little bit. One BTC sat buys 132.6 BCH sats, down slightly. One Ethereum buys 691.8 megasats, so we're also down slightly. It is 16 days until bliss, and there is just 2 days left to grab a Jessica on TapSwap before we delist all of those in preparation for burning them as part of the event. So if you want to grab a once in a lifetime Jessica NFT, you're really up against the clock. So maybe bump it up to the top of your priority list, because it's not going to be getting any easier when it comes to acquiring one of those, and we're not going to be issuing anymore. That's for sure. All right. So we've been talking a little bit about the market here, but I also wanted to get your quick intro into Bitcoin Cash. So what was it about Bitcoin Cash that got you interested, and I don't know, listening to the podcast, and where's the journey with that? Obviously, if you're involved early enough to see the split happen and everything initially, then you might have a bit more perspective on how it all went down, right?
I did. I actually did see the split happen. I got in before that, and whenever I heard about that, I didn't know what was going on. Like I have a very, I'm a chart guy. As I know you guys have had Corbin on here a few times. I'm a price checker, as he would call it. There's a few things that are over my head as far as like logistics of like software or programming or stuff like that goes. So when I heard about the hard fork, it's my first time ever hearing about that. And I had no idea what it was. All I knew was people that had Bitcoin wallets were going to get airdropped more Bitcoin, essentially. So I was like, well, that sounds too good to be true. And again, I didn't really have the wherewithal to like set up a Bitcoin wallet. I really like it. It's actually not that hard. So like it, I feel like if I just tried harder, I could have done it, but I felt more secure. As controversial as this might sound, I felt more secure. And this might give like kind of a peer into like most people who get into crypto. I felt more secure on an exchange. You know, I felt way more secure because it was easier. My money it's like protected kind of, right? But as long as I obey the rules, whatever. But I didn't get any Bitcoin Cash in the airdrop or in the fork. I didn't get not an airdrop. I'm so used to saying airdrop now, but that's because there's airdrops left and right everywhere, man.
Yes.
But I didn't have a wallet, so I didn't implement Bitcoin Cash through my BTC. But I did sell some BTC. Bitcoin Cash actually has normally done pretty well for me. It's actually normally done pretty well for me. And I'm going to look at it just right now for reference sake, actually. Let me see here. Whenever I bought, I want to say I got in, I didn't get into Bitcoin Cash until 2018, until probably March of 2018, when it was worth about, I would say anywhere from $500 to $600, $700, something like that. And then I caught that pump. We had like 100% pump in a month. And we went up to, what was it? $1,800. I remember I sold at about $1,400, and then the price dumped from there. So I felt pretty smart. And then I put my money into, other altcoins, other cryptos, Bitcoin, and everything went down. So I made a good plan, Bitcoin Cash, but then those funds went away. And even if I held Bitcoin Cash, it still would have gone down. But man, funny story about Bitcoin Cash for me. You guys remember that 2019, in like early 2019, we had that pump that went from like the all-time lows all the way up to like $500 and just like kept marching up there.
Yeah.
I was in a short on Bitcoin Cash. I was in a 5x short on that. And it did so well that the short did terrible, but Bitcoin Cash did so well. And I was shorting with Bitcoin Cash. So I didn't get liquidated fully, but I lost like 50% of what I had, or like 70% or something like that, which sucks. But Bitcoin Cash did so well that I actually ended up making money. I got cleared out of my short, but so I was up more. I was up less in Bitcoin Cash, but I was up more in BCH. And I'm kind of, ever since I got into technical analysis and crypto, I've really adopted the idea of contrarianism. I'm sure a lot of people do when they get into this space. You learn that the media is not on your side; they're on their side. That they want us to hear these stories for their own reasons. It's not to help us. Most of the time, if not always, it's something else. But contrarianism allowed me to see past the kind of guys that most people were putting on Bitcoin Cash. Like, I hear all these people calling it a scam, and I'm the kind of person, like, if all my friends say someone is a terrible person, or that, and maybe not my friends, but just colleagues, like people say someone's a bad person, I'll take their word. I'll remember that, but I'm not going to use that whenever introducing myself to somebody. I'll introduce myself, give them all the respect, all the trust that I can give somebody, just starting out. And if they whittle that away, that's kind of on them. But I don't take other people's word for it. I like to test the waters myself, if that makes sense. So with Bitcoin Cash, everybody's just calling it a scam. And I didn't really, again, man, I'm not a developer. I don't have a deep understanding of a lot of things that go on in crypto. I'm just a chart guy, and very basic level of just diving in on Bitcoin Cash. You could see that it's a faster Bitcoin. It's cheaper. It's more efficient, right? It's decentralized. It's got all the same things you like about Bitcoin, right? Every 4 years, got a halving. It's 21 million as the cap. Because of the hard fork, all the coins that were lost, before the hard fork, they're also lost on BCH. So we got all those things going for it too. Unfortunately, also the Mt. Gox crash, all the coins that got taken on there, they're going to be available probably to sell later this year too. But that's always a thing. I feel like that happens every year. There's always talk about Mt. Gox. releasing cryptos, and it never really seems to matter, honestly. Maybe for like a day, but man, I keep doing that. Where was I? I can't remember.
Yeah, so we got. Go on.
So just understanding that it was the better Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash versus BTC. Understanding that it was the better Bitcoin. I wasn't quite sold that it would ever replace Bitcoin, and I'm still iffy on if it ever will. The way that I would think BCH would overtake BTC is if the developers on the BTC side really made a mess of things. As it is right now, I don't really know. Or like if some entity stepped in and like harness more control over BTC or something like that. And maybe they already have, I don't know. But if BTC withers away its own credibility, BCH will step. It's the obvious choice. It really is. But as of right now, I'm not certain if a lot of people in the BCH community, and I know this is blasphemous, but I'm just speaking honestly, I don't know if it'll ever overturn BTC, but I do think it will inevitably see hundreds of thousands of dollars in price, inevitably, just as BTC will inevitably see millions of dollars in price. And I think BCH even will see millions of dollars in price. And I do believe, controversy to like what had happened during the hard fork when we had, it was very heated amongst the communities, and Roger Ver, I love Roger Ver, man. I kind of think he's like a superhero in the BCH space, honestly. Like I think he does a lot of good, and he does a lot for crypto overall, but I think in that 2017 or maybe it's like 2018, 2019 phase where him and Tone Vase and Jimmy Song were just at each other's throats, man, they got to him and they brought out a side of him that wasn't pretty, and everybody associates BCH with Roger, but it's like he's just Bitcoin Jesus, man. He's just the guy that he's there. If there's something good in crypto going on, he's going to be involved. And I feel like kind of didn't make himself look good, and a lot of people, because of him, they just, maybe not because of him, but they might have put people off with BCH. But again, Tone Vase and Jimmy Song, they were definitely poking the bear like all the time with him, and just kind of that. I feel like their purpose with him wasn't to try to have a genuine discussion, but to just poke fun at him. And that's kind of upsetting when you are trying to talk about something serious, whenever you genuinely have a coin that is the better Bitcoin and people are trying to argue it. I get where he's coming from, but it's just, I think all that potentially bad PR and people associating BCH with the scam and associating it with Roger Ver, all that's kind of gone away. And Roger's still here. He's still, you guys know, he's still working, behind the scenes always, but it's not something that's like talked about, or it's not as much of a circus. I don't know. That's not supposed to be going off. Yeah, no, it's not supposed to be going off. I don't. Let me see. Hold on.
You want to quickly check?
Yeah, you know what? I might just go turn it off entirely, and I'll just hold on. Sorry.
Jet, I was talking on Twitter the other day.
All right.
Okay, that was super quick.
Just a little bit. By the way, you guys, this is my first time doing a podcast like this at all, so I've never done anything like this before.
This is great. I'm enjoying it. Yeah. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it a lot.
I'm enjoying it too. Hell yeah. I'm glad. Thank you.
So tell me then about technical analysis, right? You mentioned before that people can sort of think it's astrology, or like in my sense, I'm not really convinced that it's real, to be totally honest with you. I think that there could be a self-fulfilling prophecy element to it. If you have a price chart and everybody draws a line and enough people are drawing that same line and all believe it's going to stop at that line, then that maybe creates the line because they all go and pile in on the exchange at that exact price, right? So I can see that maybe with psychology there's some element to it, but I can't just believe that the price is anything more than a random walk, somewhat connected to the fundamentals of supply and demand at a very broad level, right? But obviously with technical analysis, the game is, we think, you can actually predict the price and use that to make money. But I would be skeptical that it wasn't all just from people like yourself or others to sell the idea of technical analysis more than the actual trading. So break it down for me and explain, convince me that it works, basically.
So essentially, without maybe doxing my ability to convince you here, I essentially believe the same thing, some of the same things you were saying there. Like there is a lot of self-fulfilling prophecies that happen with analysis, and it does play off of psychology. And I don't necessarily believe that there is a pre-designed plan for any chart, any price action at all. I do think that it is essentially random, and that's why you can have the best TA in the world and you'll still be wrong. It's nothing. You can do all the things, literally everything from the books to the charts to the psychology. It could all make sense for it to do one thing, and then it does exactly what it shouldn't do. And that's how TA. It's not 100% guaranteed. It absolutely is not. And that's where I suppose it's hard to argue how legitimate it is or not. But I think using it and kind of keeping track, like a track record of if you're right or wrong, whether you're going with your gut feeling or you're using TA. I would think, for me at least, for me, TA would guide me in the right direction more often, and it saved me on a lot of different things. I've had other people who've commented on my channel who've talked about how they're about to buy or they're about to sell, and I was, I don't advise anybody to do anything. I'm not an advisor, but I was talking about the price doing one thing or another that was opposite to what they believed, and it's kind of helped them put themselves in a better financial position. But beyond just like track record potential, like that anybody could develop, there's things in TA, and I don't understand absolutely everything, but to my understanding, most tools are to a certain degree based off of psychology and mathematics, trends and stuff like that. But maybe it's all just based off mathematics. The reason I say psychology is because of things like the Fibonacci sequence, which technically it applies to psychology. I can use that as an example right now too, kind of like my first experience with BTC. I bought in at 18K. Whenever it went down to 9K, I was like, I'm in it now. But then whenever it dropped down to 6K, which was about 60, it's near that golden ratio of total losses. It would have been, I guess, that would have been 66%. The golden ratio is 61.8%. In mathematics in the Fibonacci sequence. But around that area is where I sold. So it's like in psychology, if you think about it, most people who are like, I'm going to hold on no matter what, they don't mean that. They don't mean that at all. I mean, some people do, but most of them don't. They mean if it drops 50%, okay, I'm in it. But then if it drops 61.8% or more, there's these levels that we, for some reason, it's call it an anomaly. It's just like an average of personalities and then things that we see in the universe too. If you Google right now the distance between the spirals in the Milky Way galaxy, they respect the Fibonacci sequence as well. It might not be the golden ratio on all the spirals, but that's something. It's an anomaly. It's a phenomenon. It's like a reoccurrence that we see in the universe in shells and pine cones in trees.
You can go even simpler than that. The length of your arm, starting from the first tip of your knuckle. 1 and 1 is 2, and then 2 and 1 is, So
and
following along.
Exactly. Our bodies are based off of this as well. It's a reoccurring thing, though. It's just a natural occurrence in the universe, and there are various tools that involve the Fibonacci sequence. I use the Fib retracement tool mainly. There's the Fib extension, there's the Fib trend, there's the Fib channels, which I don't even use it as a Fib channel. It's actually a thing that I picked up from Mitch Ray, is to just use it as like an actual channel, like you separate it into quadrants. And watching his channel, I saw him he used to use that all the time. I haven't watched his channel in a while, but I like Mitch Ray, man. I think he's good at what he does, but I picked up that from him. But mainly I just use the Fibonacci retracement tool. I don't use any other Fibonacci tools. There is Fib time and there's other things, but I don't have an understanding. Just because you have an understanding of one tool does not mean you have an understanding of all tools. They don't all work the same, and they have different rules. Even if they have similar rules, like I'm sure they all respect the golden ratio, but they all have different rules. I
have a question about So you said something about the golden ratio of losses, where it's like 61.8% or something like that. So that number comes from taking the latter number in the Fibonacci sequence and dividing it by the former. And it's normally like the further along in the sequence you get, the closer it gets to 1.618, blah, 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 blah. How come that 1 gets dropped?
You know, that's actually something that I've wondered myself, because everyone refers it, I even refer to it as the Fibonacci or the golden ratio, and it's technically like a ratio of the ratio. The 1.618 is an extension, so that would actually be the golden ratio in itself, so I don't know, but I've always called it an extension. I don't know if I have a good answer for that, other than the golden ratio. It can correspond to 1.618, and then in my experience, it can also correspond to just 0.618, 0.0618, 2.618, 3.618. Like you can put those different levels of that same golden ratio, and it's obviously not the same mathematically, but just it can show significance, not just on the charts, but in various things as well. Like this, for example, the arm thing, whenever you're doing it backwards, right? From here to the length of your finger to the length of your hand, that would be 168 or 618%. But if you did it backwards, you could say it's 61.8% of my arm here is the length of my forearm. And then, it's 61.8, it can go backwards too. So I think when you're talking about retracements, that might be why, because you're retracing. I don't know. I'm literally just spitballing ideas, but I've wondered that myself, because I've looked up the formal definitions, and technically, yes, 1.618 is the golden ratio. It's not just 0.618, but a lot of people in crypto would, if you ask them what the golden ratio is, they would actually just say 0.618. So I guess I don't have a good answer for that, other than it still does show respect, and it is a key level on various things.
Okay, I appreciate the effort. This is one of those things, I don't know if I even know enough about math to be satisfied with an answer, right?
Right. Yeah, I love math, man. I consider myself a mathematical mind, but yeah, there's some things there are a lot of things that are beyond me.
Indeed. Shout out to the golden ratio, one of the all-time great concepts going back millennia. Nature has also got that one on lock. So tell us then specifically about BCH. We mentioned on this show recently, I know on your show you've been talking about it, and also Ethan Galstad and maybe some other people have been talking about this $50,000 BCH price target, which is not to say that that's realistic or likely, but just the technical indicators were giving a flicker of hope that people were getting excited about. Give us the breakdown of where that idea originated and how much credibility it has.
All right, so this is going to be a long haul, so buckle up, get your water, make sure your oven's off.
Turn your oven up, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, we're going to get into it now. So I'm looking at the chart right now. Even if you guys can't see it, I'll walk through and explain. I'm going to actually go back. I know we're talking
Maybe you
about
can even
BCH.
share that. I don't know, Jed, if you're able to do a screen share, get that going.
Is that possible?
I think you can either share your screen, or I can open up a new tab and replace the slides with a chart if you prefer.
How would I share this? Because again, this is my first. I don't know what I'm doing.
I don't know that we've never done it before on this.
Yeah. Okay. What website do you prefer to load a chart from? I'll just load something
I'm
up.
using Firefox.
No.
So Trading View.
Okay.
Yeah.
Trading View. BCH to what? USD.
USD. I would say the index chart. Actually, let's look at BTC USD on the index chart. I was going to say, I know we're talking about BCH, but I want to talk about BTC because also you guys, I mean, everybody who's a dragon rider, as I call them on my channel, in the Bitcoin Cash community, you guys know that it was a hard fork. So BTC's history is BCH's history. So I think if we're going to talk about BCH, we should talk about the price of BTC.
Okay.
Are you on? I see Trading View. You go up to the top. There should be an option to let me see how it would look. It would say, oh yeah, advanced chart at the top right, that little tab looking thing.
See on Super Charts, this guy?
Yeah, that one. It used to say advanced chart, but they didn't update.
Okay. And then let me switch to this for the viewers. Oh, I gotta share this tab instead. Okay.
Okay. And then if you go to the bottom right of the numbers there should be like an L. It'll pop up while you're scrolling over it. No, on the white screen. Yeah, on like the bot where the numbers are, but like on the column of the numbers, like the price. Sorry. Up a little bit. Let me see. I'm gonna try to zoom in a little bit. Yeah, right around there. You see the L? The L's clicked.
Oh, yeah. The L's clicked.
Yeah.
I just
Okay,
it's not
cool.
coming through on the screen share. Sorry.
Okay, cool. Go to monthly. Go to the monthly time frame, and let's just like scope it out, zoom it out. Just give us the whole look of the chart, essentially.
Ooh.
Yeah. You can drag it with the numbers on the right there, that same like column. If you click those numbers and you pull it down, it'll scrunch it. Yeah, there you go. Teaching you how to drive here, Jet.
Yeah, this is amazing. We're getting a free trading course right here on the Bitcoin Cash podcast. This is the first time for everything.
Hell yeah, happy to do it, man. So that's BCH. That's in the logarithmic chart. Now I want to explain real quick. If you click it out of log, and you don't have to do that, but if you click it out of log, the chart would look completely different. It would, and the reason for that is, yeah, you can see it's a totally different looking chart. The reason for that, the best way to make sense of it without going into the mathematical formula is that with that chart, with the linear chart as they call it, if you move up from $1 to $2, that's a $1 move. That's a 100% gain, but it's a $1 move. If you take that same $1 move at $1,000, it's not 100%. It's a fraction of 1,000. It's 1 out of 1,000. Man, just drew a blank.
Yeah, so you got linear and log. So log is exponential, right? So you're looking at the change gets increasingly bigger steps.
Exactly.
Right?
So instead of it going off of the dollar price like the linear chart would, it goes off of the percentage. So $1 to $1 would go to $2. That'll be the same size candle as $1,000 to $2,000. It bases it. So that's why the chart looks different for anybody that's wondering why. But I like to use log because I think it looks better. I think it just looks nicer. It's easier for me to comprehend. But we're on the BCH chart. Can we do the BTC USD, and then if you just type it in, just BTC USD.
I'll just do it in the tab here if it'll let me. BTC.
Yeah. And then index. It'll say like Coinbase, Binance, Kraken, whatever. Oh, you got it there. Okay.
I click Coinbase here.
Click index so we can get the whole history of it, if you would.
Where do I find index?
So type in BTC USD again. Sorry. It'd be easier if we knew how to screen share. Sorry for
oh, I see it. All-time history index.
Exactly. Yeah. And then we'll put it in log again and just give us the whole picture. So that's BTC, right? So we'll go back to the BCH chart maybe later, but BTC here, if you see and you're on the monthly chart here, so this is every candle is a month, that's the whole history right there, going back from the earliest readings that we have on trading. It's not the whole history of BTC because this chart starts in like 2010, 2009, not even, 2009, I guess. I don't know.
That's 2011.
Yeah, if they've got the numbers to 2011, that's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. On my chart, I've got it to 2009. Oh, but that's because I have the premium. Probably that's why on TradingView there's different levels. Anyways, I was like, man, they added time to it. I've never seen that before. But anyways, you can see the discernible highs. You can see the cycle highs, the cycle lows, right? The clear cycle highs and lows.
Oh no, I can go back. It just was weirdly zoomed. Gotcha.
Okay, there we go. That looks about right. I thought we were missing a cycle, but you can see the discernible highs and lows, right? The most recent one that we're like right at right now, obviously that's the 69K top. The one before that is the 20K top, and then we had like 1,200 or something like that back there, 1,100, 1,200. If I had the fib tool, which I don't on this screen share, but if I could draw it, I would show you that each cycle, except for the last cycle, the fib retracement.
Click from where to where?
So click from any top to any low, except for the 2017 bull cycle. Go from like the high to the low point. Oh, but not over there. I said from any high to any low, not that one. Any from history. Any from history.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
So yeah, like that high and then to the corresponding low afterwards in a chronological order.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And then we're going to have to adopt some things here. We'll show some people how to do some
Stretch
some
this out.
stuff. Go to the actual where that bottom line, doesn't matter how far stretched, that's probably nice right there. Make it line up with the absolute low, the absolute lows. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And then double click the fib tool itself, or yeah, just double click that little right there. Yeah.
This little blue dot.
I don't know. No, you might have to double click the like, yeah, there you go. Okay. Let's see. Then there's obviously checked areas there. Go to the one that says 2272 and check that. It's on the right side, kind of in the middle.
2272. Okay, yep.
That one right there. And then if you go to the scroll down and you click logarithmic, it'll all the way down. Fib levels based on log scale. Yeah. There we go. And then also, just because I like it this way, if you could, that background where it says background kind of on the lower there, make it invisible. Pull it all the way to the left. There you go. Boom. Perfect. Just like that. It's easier to see, I think. So if you look, you drew this fib to remind everybody from the cycle high that was at about 1,200 to the lows that came in from that bear market at about $152. The corresponding all-time high that happened in the next cycle was literally essentially right at the 2272. You know, right, like literally right at that price. Yeah.
And then the resistance was 2 points there. Okay, I see.
And then if you were to take that same idea from high to low, if you did that to the previous cycle, you would get the same results where that high also corresponded with the exact same fib level, the 2272. That all-time high to that all-time low there, yeah. And you can see it, yeah, like literally goes right to it. So that was cycle after cycle, we were having the 2272 repeat itself, right? BTC last cycle, with everything that was going on in the world, you know, let's just call it economic mayhem to keep it brief. I think that the cycle was held back. It did not see its 2272 extension. Last cycle it saw its 1618 extension. Okay. So that was like a held back cycle. I do think we're going to see the 2272 of this cycle. I know we're talking a lot about BTC, but it's all relevant to BCH, I promise. We're going to start connecting those dots in a second. So not from that one. If you delete it and if you click that trash can on the bottom left, oh yeah, you'll have to refresh it.
Son of a bitch.
I remember those days, man. Yep. Because you can use it for free. You can continue to use it for free, but every time you refresh it, you'll just have to like reset everything. So now if you go from last cycle, from the 69K top to the 15K low with that same idea in mind, it should save your fib settings though, I think. So you won't have to redo that.
69K top to...
Yeah.
Up there.
And then you've got your projected numbers there. Let's see.
Let me zoom in a bit. On an out alert. What is it? Okay. Is this good?
Yeah. And then if you scroll up,
we want to see the upward price action there, Jet.
Yeah, exactly. So the 1618, the minimum extension that we've hit every single cycle for BTC was the 1618. Both cycles before, or two cycles, the first two cycles we hit 2272. Last cycle we hit the 1618, and that was the smallest extension we saw. So by that metric, it's not that the price has to go there. To kind of answer that whole like is technical analysis astrology thing too, to kind of go back to that, it doesn't have to go there, but it's an idea. These are numbers that have been respected technically every single market cycle high to low, and whether it's coincidence, self-fulfilling prophecy based off of trading bots, whatever the answer may be, it's still areas of significance that we've seen on the cycle highs when measuring in this manner from all-time previous cycle high to previous cycle low and projecting out. So the minimum target I'd see for BTC this cycle would be 178. But if you scroll to the 2272, which technically
178,000, you're saying we're going to hit 178,000 on BTC by when?
I think we're going to hit by the end of this cycle, which could be sometime at the end of 2025. I think we're actually going to hit 400K. The 2272 up there. That's my thoughts. I would at least expect above the 1618, but because the 2272 is the norm, and because we had all this economic mishap in the world last cycle, and truthfully what it was in my opinion was the DXY gaining strength and expanding. It was going through an expansion phase during the end of the bull cycle. We've never had that before, and the DXY and Bitcoin, they run inverse of each other for a large bit of the time. Not always, not 100% of the time, but for a large portion of the time. For those of you that don't know, the DXY, just like this is the BTC USD chart, if you type in DXY, that's the dollar, the US dollar index. So if the DXY is going through expansion, the dollar is gaining strength against every currency in the world. If we consider crypto a currency, that would mean it's gaining strength against it as well. So when the dollar's expanding, it's hard for assets to grow. And we had never seen that at the end of a bull cycle before, but last cycle we did. And we'd also never seen anything short of a 200 level extension, but we did last cycle too. So I think last cycle was weak. I think this cycle will be stronger. And let's see.
Okay. All right. I didn't know I agree with you, but I follow your logic. I understand. I understand where you're going with this. This is okay.
I'm not just making up the numbers, but yeah, it's a theory, it's a prediction, it's not a prophecy. I didn't write it in stone. You know, it's just an idea based off of other things that we've seen historically speaking, and that's largely what I'd say TA is. It's using historical references in that manner. So assuming that TA works, or that these kind of levels can be applied, Bitcoin Cash has never, this is where we're getting to BCH, and the all-time high potential for BTC I think is important when considering Bitcoin Cash too, because we also have the BCH versus BTC chart. And if we can estimate a potential high in that chart, we might be able to correspond it with potential highs in the USD chart. And if they line up with each other, that's just more congruence, or there's a word I'm looking for. That's just more that goes together. It makes sense. We like to see that converging on each other, stuff like that. But if we look at BCH, and I'm pulling up the chart now, I'll just tell you guys. Last cycle,
I gotta give you 2 seconds.
Cool. We broke above.
We're changing the Bitcoin Cash podcast. This will now be the technical analysis podcast. I've given up on all my other theories.
Just gonna sit on the couch and make money all day. That's what I don't know.
Exactly.
That's like maybe not if you're using leverage trading. That's the idea. That's the dream. But yeah, okay. So there you go. Yeah, that's a basic kind of idea there. The 1618, and I have other levels. I have the 1272, the 1618, and I like two areas. So the area that you drew from the high of the last cycle to the low of the previous, or the current bear market that we just came out of. So this fib I think will be relevant, but I think another fib that's always relevant throughout most charts also is, especially in like newer charts like this, I think the all-time high to the all-time low fib is also, and you can draw them both on at the same time if you'd like, or you can, if it's too much noise, you can just have one on at a time. But those levels also, I think, should be taken into consideration, because the reason why I like that as well, versus using the recent cycles high and lows. I'm using the previous cycles high and lows, which I don't normally do. But the reason why I am is because if we look at the chart, we've been respecting these fib levels. Like even all the way out to this time, even after a whole cycle, we're respecting the 382 and the 236. Depending on where we go in the future, we might respect the 618 or the 786 or other levels, but I see respect on it here, and that tells me that it might be useful even in this cycle. So the minimum expected projections, if you have my chart, which it has the 1272, the 1414, and the 1618, all various Fibonacci ratios, you've got numbers between 13K to 53K. You see, and you can see, before I even said that, the 1618 is sitting up there at 53K. It should be, if you're looking at the previous, or the all-time high to the all-time low. That, for me, that's where this 50K number comes from, is from the golden ratio extension based off of the significant all-time high to very significant all-time low. Those are staples in any chart most of the time. If it's a new chart, your all-time high might not matter because a week goes by, 2 months goes by, you haven't actually found what's meant to be printed on the chart. But it all depends. Everything has relevance within its time frames. But you can see that 1618 on the larger fib even almost kind of lines up with that 2272 of the more relative fib. So you get congruence like that. You get things that are in the same area. That's nice to see too. And it kind of makes sense because you did find a high around your 786 on the larger fib. So like you're gonna see when you get respect within the retracements, you're probably gonna get respect within the extensions as well. But that for me is where that 50K level comes from. Now, if we were to look at the BCH BTC chart on Binance, there are things that allow for that to happen as well. You do the same kind of idea, take the all-time high to the all-time low fib, because I don't expect that by the end of this cycle that we're going to see new all-time highs in the BCH BTC chart. And for those of you that don't know, BCH versus BTC, that just means, again, right now we're looking at BCH USD, so that's in dollars. The BCH BTC chart compares Bitcoin Cash in BTC. That's how it gets compared.
Why Binance specifically?
It just has more historical data. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think Coinbase even actually they've got. Coinbase has the most historical data on the BCH USD chart, but Binance has it on the BTC chart for some reason.
So should I do this through all time, like all time high to all time low?
Yeah. Same idea, and then zoom it out whenever you're done with that. That way you can see the projections, and that's all these are. Again, I tell people all the time, these are just lines. They are not prophecies. They are not guaranteed. They're not stone walls. They're just lines on a like an internet chart. You can go through them. You can fall short of them. It doesn't have to. Of course.
All right, I'm not
We're going to
refreshing.
have to be premium trader membership.
I got it on Black Friday, so I got that discount. I wish I knew how to share, but anyways, if you want to just take my word for it, I can run through it really quickly. Okay.
Yeah. Just give us the answer. Yeah.
So we've got the 53K idea in BCH. Okay, right. That's from the fibs, from whatever. That's just an idea. There's other reasons for that I'll go over in a second that don't involve TA. I mean, they involve comparing price actions to BTC, but we'll get into that in a second. 53K being the golden extension if we were to hit it off of the all-time high to all-time low. So if Bitcoin, using the BTC chart that we started with, if it has projections that are around $500,000, right? For 460,000, I think is what it was, or 470,000. And for the 2272 on Bitcoin, that's the projected high, at least in my opinion, for this cycle by either, I would say by the end of 2025, probably in Q4, Q3, if not late Q3, early Q4 is what I'm thinking, but who knows? That's time analysis is different than price analysis. I'm not always good with time analysis, but with that high in mind, again, about 500K, but let's say it's like between 450K to 500K. If BCH were to see a standard retracement, is what they call it, right? It's a standard retracement in the fib scales. From the all-time high to the all-time low, right now we're worth 0.0075% of a BTC, okay?
Yes.
If it goes up to the golden ratio, we are at, or the golden retracement, we're at 6.88% of a BTC. And there's another level in there between the 0.618 and the 0.7. I actually call it the 0.69 because I find more significance in the 0.69. I know a lot of people think it's a silly number for other reasons, but it has a meaning of like serendipity and like I don't know, like serendipity is probably the best word for it. I don't know. Other than that, it's like yin and yang. Anyways, I've identified that between the 618 and the 69, at least within my own analysis, that's a level that gets respected. And BCH itself actually really does like its 6.9 area. That's if that's a fun fact for you guys. I don't know if that's the first time you've heard it, but I've noticed it finding significance specifically on the 69% retracement of some key moves. So the 618 is at 6.88% of a BTC. The 69 is just shy of 10%. Okay, so if we were to just assume the maximum, which is 10% potentially, like around there, and if Bitcoin were to see prices around 500K or higher, that 50K price could happen. And again, these are just lines. You don't have to stop at the 6.9. The 786, which is also a common retracement, it's a deeper retracement. That's at 15% of a Bitcoin. If Bitcoin Cash were to see highs that it hasn't seen since its inception versus BTC, 15% of a Bitcoin, which is a totally possible retracement. If Bitcoin didn't even get to 400K, but it got to 100K, that's still solid gains for BCH. So, but I am going to be conservative and assume that our all-time high for BCH versus BTC is probably going to be between 2.2% to 7% is what I'm thinking. It could go up to 10%. It could go higher, of course. But I don't really expect it to, personally. I think there's a lot of headwinds around that 7% level, around that 6.5% level in that area. And if worse comes to worse, we're still probably going to be worth over 2% of a Bitcoin. But really, I think that 6.5 to 7% is an area to go to. So if you take 6.5 to 7% of like 470K, which is where that 1618 is of BTC, you can get an idea of where BCH could be at that level too. But personally, I'm not so certain if BCH goes to 50K this cycle. Again, as I said earlier, I do think that we're going to see hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars even, in time, several cycles out, right? Especially whenever the narrative gets real. This is something I got sidetracked on earlier. But when the narrative, we've had the opportunity to switch the narrative from BCH is the scam BTC to now it's people are open-minded to it. There's not so much drama and hecticness going on. I think people are open-minded to seeing it for what it is, which is the better Bitcoin. I think there will be, and there never has been. I mean, other than when it first forked, there really hasn't been the narrative of, is BCH going to overtake BTC? Could BCH, a lot of people who've been in the space might laugh at that. The people that are involved with Bitcoin Cash, that, they wouldn't laugh at that at all. That's a serious consideration for a lot of us. But for most people in the crypto space, they wouldn't even assume that. But I think that narrative of could BCH flip Bitcoin, I think that is going to come about, and that is going to be part of the driving factor psychologically for why we're going to see these new all-time highs. And I really do believe by the end of this cycle that BCH will see new all-time highs. And if it does see new all-time highs, the minimum extension that I have based off of the all-time high to all-time low fib extension would be at about $12,000. So it's not as high as 50K, 53K, but $12,000 going from a low this cycle of around $100, that's pretty awesome. And if it sounds impossible, I want to refer back to the well-known fact that we all know and love, is that BCH and BTC have a shared history. When Bitcoin was at these same levels, when it went up to $1,200 and it had one bear cycle that pulled it back to about $160, it wasn't as low as $100. I'll grant that, or like $90 wherever BCH went this cycle, but it was only one bear cycle that BTC was at that price level. And then it went up to a run of 19.8K in one cycle. Yes. Bitcoin Cash has been at these prices for multiple cycles now. It's been 2 cycles. Yeah.
I'm just interrupting. This is just a production note. I'm going to swap the microphone because we're getting a lot of background noise. I'm going to see if I can get any better quality here.
Is that my fault?
No, let's not call it your fault. Hardware fault.
Oh, yeah.
Let's try this one. I've just requested a different microphone. I think you have to approve it on your side.
Is that better?
That is much worse. Hold on, let me try.
That's worse.
And now?
Also worse, I think.
Still a little bit.
Yeah.
Trying one other. If this doesn't work, we'll just go back to the original.
Okay.
And this one just seems to be... Oh.
Is it good?
I think the first one was the best.
Yeah, all right.
The original.
No worries.
Sorry, guys.
No, it's all good.
All right, so are we back?
Yeah, we'll work with that.
Okay. Can you describe the noise? Maybe I can do something about it, because there's nothing.
It just sounds like traffic out your window or whatever.
Oh, yeah, that buzzing, man. I don't know. Maybe I can, let me just try. quick. I don't know. Is this turning it up? That is turning it up. We're going to turn it down. Is this better or is this worse?
It's a little better, but
don't worry about it. I'll clean this
it.
up when we edit. We already have a noise
okay.
gate, noise suppression, echo cancellation, and a compressor applied. Like, it's cleaned up. I think the best we can do for a live show.
Cool.
For now.
I've tried to get rid of that before, and I've messed with it. I don't know how. I've got this Yeti microphone, and it's a nice mic, but it just that always seems to be a background noise.
Right, so we got the potential for 50 grand if we hit these levels. I gotta say, I'm loving my theory instead more and more as time goes on, that we're past the halvening, we had all the ETF hypes, and BTC is still pretty anemic. It hasn't been mooning. We don't have euphoric retail adoption, and maybe this whole cycle is just going to be a bit of a dud. Everybody is going to be caught off guard that it's no longer, this 4-year cycle that they can rely on, and then BCH will start to get traction maybe in the wake of that. And then once BCH seriously starts rising, I do like your point about everyone will get on board with the wait, BCH can flip in BTC narrative, and that might not get us all the way there initially, but it can get us, into serious consideration. And then maybe after a few more years of tech dev and everyone to get used to that idea, then we go for a flippening. That's my outlook, I think.
I think that's a fine outlook. I think that's fair, because nobody knows what the future holds. I personally don't expect this cycle to be a flop. BTC did break all-time highs before the halving, which it's never done before, but also we had a weak bull cycle last cycle, so I think it was an easier high to overcome, right? And we can see that based off of the extensions we measured. That was the first time it didn't hit the 2272. You're at the 1618. Breaking a previous 2272 extension is further away than breaking a 1618 extension is, whenever it's based off that, at least. I don't know. So yes, we're at new all-time highs, but as far as fib extensions go, we are weaker than we've actually ever seen, even with all this upside that we've had. But it's not as much as we've seen in the past, that's for sure. But I will say that generally speaking, going into that 4-year cycle idea, we do see the year and a half after the BTC halving. That's normally when the best part happens. So, whether it's going to be a flop or it's going to be successful this cycle for crypto as a whole, or just some cryptos, if BTC flops, whatever, that I think that'll be determined over the next year or so, probably. Just based off of historical references, it's key points in the BTC halving, and then basing it off of key points in the all-time highs in price. But there was one thing I wanted to say on the BCH price. Oh, I forget what it was before we had the microphone debacle.
Well, maybe while you think of it, I just wanted to get this clip in here we've got from Mitch Ray that you mentioned before, just to give a bit of an idea to the listeners that BCH is starting to get a bit of clout and traction from the technical analysis community. So that kind of cuts back to that whole self-fulfilling prophecy. It might not matter whether or not BCH has improved or not. If everybody believes it's improved, that creates the fact that it's improved, right? So Jet, let's just roll this little clip and we'll get your analysis afterwards of what he said.
Go until when?
I don't know, just play it and I'll tell you when to stop. Like, he only talks about BCH for about 30 seconds.
Shoot, 1 second. Let me switch to full screen for the audience.
I think it's literally about like
Bitcoin Cash. They were holding that level, right? If it loads, they broke out, back test, now engulfing, follow through today. So anything above 500 is great. There was so much demand that certainly no 886 was going to get hit here, or they couldn't do it yet. That's something that's interesting, right? We just looked at all these 886s and some over 100% retraces, and then you look here at Bitcoin Cash from its discernible previous low to high, and not even a 78% retrace occurred. So sheer outperformance. If this was like all these other altcoins we looked at, this Bitcoin Cash would have gone down to $380, $390. Didn't do it. And now this level's being recaptured and it's being redefended, reconfirmed as support. That's really good. So keep that in mind. Okay? Keep that in mind, because if Bitcoin was really to do anything spectacular, like continue to rally and break 69K and run, or just maybe go sideways, I want to see what happens to Bitcoin Cash here, because all these other ones are not doing as well as this one. This one's great. This one's kind of like in maybe Solana territory a little bit. I don't know. There's a demand line. Haven't really been some sort of demand line, at least, right? So you just up like 1 and 2, and then you have 3 here. Maybe that's what's going on. Demand at a demand line. I don't really give a crap about that. I care about the horizontal line, support resistance, and you got to know, like, above this level, the upside's very nice.
I think that's about enough. I think he just sort of went on a bit more like that, essentially. But as you can hear, we're at least starting to get, this is not the kind of people that historically would be loving Bitcoin Cash. And as he was saying, finally, the narrative is maybe now starting to turn around to the point of like, all these other coins aren't doing so great, but BCH kind of shining through a little bit there too. So what do you make of the increased clout among the charting community for BCH?
I think I speak for a lot of people in the BCH community when I say it's about time, but also, like, damn it. Like, sometimes you do your best work in the dark. Whenever it's nice to have everybody doubt you. It really is. That's the projects that do the best are the ones that everybody knows about. In my experience, and I mean, you don't need technical analysis to have this, right? I'm sure you guys have seen it too. But the coins that get doubt, but people know about them, those are the ones that do the best. It's almost like Shiba Inu last cycle comes out to be the Dogecoin killer. I'm like, I didn't want to see it do well. You know what I mean? Dogecoin, when it first came out, whenever I first heard about it, I didn't want to see it do well. And I feel like a lot of people in the crypto space at the time thought the same. But those are the coins we all know about it still. And for some reason, we just hate it. There's no justifiable reason. Those coins do well. So Bitcoin Cash getting attention finally, it's about time, but at the same time, damn it, because the more people that catch on, it's generally whenever everybody is like, this is the thing to be in, that's when you found your high. So the reason I say damn it is not because we're not on our way to greatness, that's awesome, but because that just means there's less time to accumulate at low levels, at levels that can genuinely change your life from a financial standpoint. If that's something you're trying to do through investments or trading or whatever. BCH, that's something else I love about BCH, man. I think it's way more volatile than BTC. Even in the times where it seems boring, it's a lot less boring than BTC is. If you're a trader and you trade ranges, you can do good. You can definitely do well with BCH. It likes to be range bound at times, and I feel like it is easier to trade than some things. But the more familiar you are with the chart, any chart that you look at, the more accurate your analysis will be. Like, if it's your first time looking at a chart, I do quick analysis on a lot of requests and stuff that people have, but it's hard. There are things that you can miss. Even if you look at a chart for an hour, there are things you can miss. So I would say with Mitch Ray, I agree with what he was saying, that the level that we're holding right now is a key level. And if we can hold it, if we can get back above 500 and stay above there, that could be good. We're hovering around that area now, but it looks like we kind of rejected that area, or like we've been busting above it, but just keep rejecting, and now we're moving sideways. I would say, because I look at this chart basically every single day, and what I like about Mitch Ray is he, unlike a lot of people in crypto, they might hear BCH, do T on BCH, and they might be like, no, I'm not going to do that. It's the scam Bitcoin. I'm just not going to participate. He doesn't care. He's like, if it's a good chart, it's a good chart. I'll let you know if it is or if it isn't. So he just doesn't care. He'll analyze it if it's worth talking about, and if it's not worth talking about, he'll still talk about it and just say this thing is trash. But going back to, I don't know how often he looks at BCH. That might have been his first time looking at it. Even if he looked at it for an hour, that's sometimes you can miss things. And I'm looking at it now. While yes, we hit certain fib levels that he was talking about. We're holding around that 886, or we didn't even quite get to that 886 level. There are other fibs that come in mind that kind of project us lower. And if we take the most relative high that we had on April 5th, and we drew a fib to the low that we just had on April 13th, we're kind of finding resistance at the 382 level. We can't get above that. And if you can't get above your 382, in fact, you're finding resistance at it multiple times, that's not normally a good thing. And the way that it looks to me, it looks as if BCH broke down, it's consolidating, and it looks like it wants to go lower. But that does remain to be seen. Like Mitch said, if BTC goes up, we go up to 69K, 70K. If it starts going higher than that, that could change things for BCH too. BCH can move up without BTC. We've seen it in the past, but just generally, BTC has the highest market cap. Whenever it goes up, a lot of things go up, or like you said, if it consolidates, if it doesn't really drop, BCH has an opportunity too. Something else that he said in his video was that he was like comparing it to Solana, saying that it's been doing better than most. Obviously, it had a dump, right, from 720 down to 440. Like, obviously, he's saying it's done better than most, but he's not ignoring the fact that it's had a drop. What he means by that, I think, is like versus Bitcoin or versus most cryptos, it's actually held up well. And even during a drop, there are things that are revealed. And when you see a crypto, and this is something that I've been telling people to do on my channel, which is compare the BTC charts. Pick your favorite crypto, compare it to Bitcoin. Whichever ones have held up the best, that's telling of how well they'll do in this cycle. Because if BTC is projected to do X amount of gains, whatever, if your crypto's holding up better than BTC, then you're going to see that even more. So that's BCH over the last 2 years has performed. It's at a better standing right now. Even over like the last year and a half, it's at a better standing than coins like Ethereum, coins like BNB, like all kinds of coins, AVAX. There's maybe not AVAX. I'm drawing a blank. If I went
probably not Avalanche, right now. But we have been working up the ranks over time, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's a thing. Working up through the ranks for sure, and that's gaining popularity. But also just I think holding what it's doing things that it's never done before. BCH. It's the significance of what's happening on the BCH to BTC chart. I think people don't realize, and some people do. I know there are a few people who have their eyes on this as well, but it's a different chart than we've seen throughout its entire existence. It's showing strength like it's never had before. We're not getting lower lows. We actually have a discernible higher low right now, and we're set up to make a discernible higher high. And Bitcoin Cash has never had a discernible higher low and higher high run together in its history versus BTC. And we're about to do that for the first time after having some of the biggest months that we've ever seen, showing some of the strongest readings that we've gotten on the RSI, which is the Relative Strength Index. It's a tool that technical analysts use. Whether it's on the monthly or the weekly time frame, whatever, we're seeing readings like we've never seen before. I really think BCH can do well, and I think that also ties in with the fact that it's doing better versus BTC than most coins are in the market right now. I think that's a really good sign. That's always in previous cycles. That's been a good sign. BCH had that at times, but overall, on average, it tended to not do so well versus BTC. But BCH right now, it's doing things different. So.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, all right. Well, I think we've covered that pretty extensively, and it'll be interesting. We'll be able to look back at this episode by the end of the cycle, end of 2025, and see whether our predictions came true or not, to what extent. I love looking back at these things. Sometimes you look back and you think, oh, that was pretty spot on, and sometimes you think, wow, we were really on a flyer at that point. So who really knows? We'll find out together. In other breaking news, yes, in other breaking news this week in cryptocurrency, we have Samourai Wallet have been shut down. So Keon Rodriguez and William Lonergan Hill are charged with operating Samourai Wallet, an unlicensed money transmitting business that executed over $2 billion in unlawful transactions and laundered over $100 million in criminal proceeds, was from the Justice Department in let's see, what's the Southern District, United States Attorney's Office, Southern District of New York, technically were the ones releasing this announcement. So the feds have seized the crypto wallet Samourai, their website, and they've delisted their wallet off the Google Play and all of that because they were, promoting, let's say, the use of Samourai wallet as a privacy tool to including, according to the seizure notice, drug markets like Silk Road and Hydra Market. I didn't even know Silk Road was still online, but maybe they're grandfathered in, or there's a new version, or what. But this is obviously terrible news for the cryptocurrency industry. Not that anybody should be doing anything illegal, but the war on end user privacy continues under the guidelines of the nanny state law enforcement. There's actually been kind of mixed reactions, I would say, interestingly, from the BTC community about this, because some people correctly said, well, this is just the next step, as we've already seen with Tornado Cash and other open source developers of privacy tools being targeted for law enforcement. And that's obviously has a huge chilling effect on the industry and leads us closer to being in a dystopian surveillance state. But interestingly, you actually had quite a lot of people who didn't really like Samourai because they were very antagonistic. Even they were too toxic for the laser eyes, which is saying quite a lot. And they had a bit of a rep for stirring up trouble with some of those other people in that community. And so you had people who literally were like almost celebrating, like, oh, they deserved it, or I called it, or, serves them right. They did this wrong or they did that wrong. When once again, it's kind of a case of the Twitterati can have a lot of opinions, but I don't see them shipping wallet software used for billions of dollars of Bitcoin transactions. So I always tend to side with the people actually putting up results. One thing people asked me about this is this likely to affect Cash Fusion, being a similar sort of coin join type of protocol to the Whirlpool used in Samourai wallet, which then has led to this, investigation by the government? The answer is it is a similar case, but hopefully not. And that's just fingers crossed, really. The two reasons cited in the shutdown include that Samourai was profiting from this Whirlpool endeavor, making them a company-like structure, and also that they were explicitly advertising for its use in criminal activity. And neither of those things is true for Cash Fusion. So hopefully Cash Fusion will not be next on the chopping block. But of course, as we know, this enforcement is both arbitrary and ever expanding. So no doubt at some point we're going to be next in the firing line, along with anybody else standing up for consumer rights to financial privacy. So everybody should be taking this quite seriously. Cesar, what did you make of this entire situation here?
Well, I hear with some of those people who might have had bad things to say about Samourai wallet, or at least the founders. I hear what they're saying in the sense of like, they probably had it coming, but that's not in a sense of they deserve it. That's not what I mean. I just mean it's like, I think we all knew that something like this would happen at some point. With Tornado Cash getting shut down, it's any mixer, anybody trying to secure privacy in the form of financial privacy, like really just privacy at all, seems to be a point of attack for a lot of authorities around the world. So it's not that I think anybody should have wanted to see this happen, whether or not you like somebody or not. It's like, I don't know. I didn't personally like XRP or Ripple Labs, but whenever they had a standoff with the SEC, I started rooting for them. Like that's good for all crypto. Like if they, Samourai wallet getting shut down, you can hate the founders or not, like whatever. But I don't know them personally. I think it sucks that they're dealing with this, but it makes sense that it happened. It's not good that it happened, in my opinion, but it makes sense that it would happen. And who knows where it'll go from here. There's talk about them coming to seize our assets, and I think that's inevitable. I think it is going to happen. And if you've got coins off of the exchanges, you can be secure. But without token privacy, they can still address your wallet. They can still come after you as an individual. So seeing stuff like this, when that inevitably does happen, like this is the precursors. They don't want anybody to have hidden addresses or have their funds where they don't have eyes on it. They want to know where it is, probably, so that when it comes time to do what they did to gold, that's what they're going to do. It'll be easier to track people.
Absolutely. Jet, any take on this?
I'm interested to see what happens beyond just privacy wallets, because if they're saying that it's really them not having a money transmitting license, then all these LN hubs are also unlicensed money transmitters. And yeah, I've been there have been a couple Twitter threads that I've been involved in where it's like L1 or bust, and this is a good example of why. If your L2 is centralized or just not censorship resistant, then you're going to have this happen time and time and time again. Even if the people that are running it don't rug you, well, the government might. So, not your keys, not your coins. Very simple.
Yeah. Well, that's right. The Bitcoin Cash community, as ever, with the simple, straightforward solution, which is just powering on as the false prophets on the BTC side slowly get knocked down one by one or run afoul of all these issues which were predicted in advance. Again, I have no ill will towards the Samourai wallet team, and in fact I think they were in some respects doing a great job of highlighting how hypocritical and anti-ethos a lot of the BTC community have become. But at the same time, like, I don't know, there's a part of me that's like, why didn't they just switch over to BCH, and maybe now it won't matter, and maybe then it would just be the problem happening in our community instead. So anyway, this is all just a developing story, and they are of course innocent until proven guilty. So I guess even by the government standards of whatever they have to go through to try and create an actual conviction, I'm sure that will be unfolding. But certainly in the context of impending CBDCs, it's never nice to see open source software development for consumer privacy coming under aggressive government attack. But I feel like we are getting to the pointy end of things right now in 2024, and certainly in 2025, things are starting to get very real. So everybody can take that for what it's worth. Okay, we got one other thing that I wanted to hit on here is Udi Wertheimer from our good friends, the Taproot, our Taproot wizards, tongue in cheek, have been kicking up things a gear with their push to add Opcat on the BTC side. I have a clip here from a recent Twitter space about the Samourai wallet situation, where Udi suddenly popped in to announce that his attempt to give Cat the BIP 420 meme number had resulted in them actually getting a real BIP number. I couldn't even find which one it was, so I'm not too sure about that. But he has been promising Opcat as a soft fork this year, which I'm, of course, skeptical of his ability to deliver. But he made some comments about this strategy that they've been implementing to try and break the deadlock on Bitcoin core development. So let's have a listen to what he had to say.
They become obvious. And that is kind of a confusing answer, but like you need to, there is a moment where people just kind of agree that a specific upgrade is just obvious. And how to get to, like, how do you get to a point that this upgrade is obvious? That is an open question. There isn't there isn't a manual that explains how to bring a proposal to a state of obviousness. That is something that you have to figure out on your own. but I think we're getting very, very close to that point. To give you an example, if you're thinking about Segwit and Taproot in the past, they both reached a point in their story where they became obvious. Like Taproot, for example, it was obvious for months, if not for a year, that it was going to get activated. And maybe there was some debate about like how it's going to get activated, like at what date and stuff like that. But it became very obvious throughout the entire community, even though most people didn't know what it does at all, but it became obvious that it will happen. And that level of obviousness needs to happen. There's no clear path to how to do it. So our plan is to just keep, doing those stunts until it becomes obvious. And I think we're very, very close. I think we're very, very close to that. I in all the discussions that if you listen to Twitter Spaces these days between like Bitcoin developers, between builders of L2s, even Casey, when he talks about Opcat, he's very favorable of it. Like basically everyone who's building in any kind of way about Bitcoin in the last 2 months is extremely positive about Opcat. And that is a massive achievement, because 4 months ago, no one knew it existed, and definitely didn't take it as a serious option. So yeah, I think we've already made massive progress in months. And I think we're very close to the point that it just reaches that level of obviousness. It just becomes obvious that it happens. And that solves all those problems.
Wait, so is it become obvious to developers or podcasters too? Do we need podcasters? Do we need them on our side, or what's going on with that? Because I do feel like there's this the shift or a rift between when you talk about these podcasters and then our community and people who are in the middle, so is there do we need them to feel this is obvious too, or do we just not need them?
So it's a complicated answer again, because there's no vote, right? There's no it's not like you go to every Bitcoiner in the world and ask them what they think. So who do you ask then? But I would say that part of the process of obviousness. So for example, if you go and watch the last, let's say, 4 weeks of episodes from Peter McCormick's podcast, for example, what you're going to notice is that he moved from talking about whatever poor people in Zimbabwe or whatnot. He moved to talking exclusively about, one, how he hates ordinals, and two, how scared he is about Opcat. I'm not kidding. He mentions that every episode. He says quantum cats about 10 times every episode. I'm seriously, I'm not joking. Just go listen. And I think that that is a sort of obviousness too, when you have podcasters like Peter McCormick and a bunch of other of those clowns, and they dedicate themselves to talking about how afraid they are, how scared they are of Opcat. That is a manifestation of obviousness. To them, it is obvious that it's going to happen, and they're afraid. And I'm not making this up. He's saying it in his own words, and I'm not inventing this. So, of course, some of those people are never going to come out and say, yes, I support Opcat, because their entire identity is about hating everything. So they're not going to say they support it, but they are going to manifest their own version of obviousness, which is to say, yes, I know that this is coming, and I'm scared shitless. So yeah, that is part of it.
So there you go. You can hear not only obviously grand confusion over the BTC core upgrade process. Of course, it's not required that an upgrade even makes sense, simply just that a lot of people magically believe that it should be in, and Udi therefore trying to meme his way into creating that sense for Opcat. But also just it's very ironic that he's talking about, we're getting discussed more and more, and there's a lot of fear about it. It all just reminds me of big blocks. It's exactly the same thing. It's over, it's dead, it's never coming back, but it's just constantly mentioned on what Bitcoin did, the history of the block size war, how wrong the big blockers were, blah, 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 as we've reviewed on this show many, many times. So, Cesar, give me your thoughts on, are we going to see Opcat find its way into Bitcoin Core by the end of this year, and or is Udi making progress here?
So that's a good question, and I want to start off by saying I have a basic grasp on the understanding of this stuff. You know, I'm more of a price checker. You know, but as far as will it happen this year, you know, I think it would be. It could be promising if it did, but I don't know. I don't know how fast things can happen. You know, with BTC going, you know, like with implementing that kind of development. I know it's basic. I know it's just like 8 lines of code or something like that. I've seen it, you know, but getting everybody on board or getting enough people on board for it to transition and be implemented, that's you know, that can take time, but it does seem like it's being more talked about. I was looking today at just things on it, and I couldn't find too much on YouTube. You know, there's not everybody's talking about it, but there is a lot on X.com, and you know, there's other sources too on the internet. But I think as it gets talked about more, we'll see it begin to get implemented. I think it's at that point now, but will it happen by the end of this year? I don't know. Maybe. If it did, it would be the later part of this year for sure. Probably like late Q3 or Q4. If not, sometime next year. It could. I think it could happen during the bull market for sure.
Now, my analysis is that Udi is kind of hoping that if he gets enough so-called obviousness, which is his word for the ill-defined consensus, then Bitcoin Core will just bow to that sort of community pressure and say, okay, we'll implement Opcat, because his theory is that Bitcoin Core is just not willing to make a controversial move. Of course, the position of this show is that actually Bitcoin Core have been captured and stalled quite deliberately. So I don't think that even getting a non-trivial amount of community support would actually change things, because they can just endlessly go in this loop of manufacturing drama and contention from a few key players and then saying, it's contentious, our hands are tied, we can't do anything, which was exactly how it went down in the block size war. So if it comes to that, by the end of this year, maybe that Udi is not making the progress that he thinks he needs, then their only alternative, which he did also talk about on the space a little bit, would be to launch an alternative client and put Opcat in that. And at that point, it is essentially open hostilities of trying to wrestle control back from Bitcoin Core. And we will see a block size war 2.0 if it goes in that direction. So I think that's something the listeners should be paying attention for, because we may or may not see that. And I'll throw in one more prediction on, or point of view from myself, which is that I think Udi and Eric and the Taproot Wizards, they're going to do this Opcat thing. And part of the reason they need to do it is they can try, and then maybe even they can try an alternative client. I don't know. It would be interesting to see that if they did. But then when it fails, when it doesn't work, when they can't get Opcat implemented on the main net, they can't get the ticker or whatever, then they can switch to BCH and say, well, we tried, guys. That's going to be the pretext, rather than just honestly converting straight out, being like, we were wrong and converting. It's always nice to have an excuse like, oh, well, we tried as hard as we could. We have no other option but to switch over to the evil B caches. What do you think of that, Cesar?
So that, again, just going into my lack of understanding on some things, you know, I didn't really know, or I still, I guess I don't understand the whole process of how it would get put out there. I didn't know that they don't necessarily need like a solid backing, like from as far as like an amount of like the BTC developer population goes. You know, they can just kind of press it themselves and just and then just like have it released out there. I don't really know too much about that personally, enough to I guess have like a genuine opinion on it. But with how you're making it sound, maybe it does come out earlier. I don't know if that would be good if we had another block wars this cycle. I mean, it could, you know, but the last time we saw that was near the end of the bull cycle, and maybe it had something to do with it, maybe it didn't, but call me superstitious, I just don't want to put that to the test, you know.
Well, that's it. Rocking the boat is never going to be good for the market's confidence. I don't think so. They're certainly playing with fire, because if they like we're talking about, if they do launch an alternative client and they do just try and grab some of the miners and just say, if you don't like it, fuck off, we're gonna take over the ticker, like Bitcoin Core are incompetent and all that stuff. If they try and go down that route, then that will probably not be good for the price, and then that will exaggerate the issue, because then everybody will all be piling in like, why are you screwing things up, why are you making chaos even worse? Nothing like a bit of price declines to foment even more infighting, I would say. So I don't know, Jed, do you have a take on this? Obviously, we've been following this story on the show quite a lot. Do you think we're going to see a Taproot Wizards alt client and or Opcat by the end of this year?
I don't think so, but I also think even if they did, it's going to make a lot of people salty, because you'll have the ossifiers who don't want it. And then you also have people like Moonsettler and PolyD who are working on other upgrades. And if they go, why did Opcat get accepted, but all this effort that I've put into my proposals are getting rejected when they offer so much more beneficial experiences? There is no path forward that I see that doesn't result in a large chunk of people leaving.
Yes. Yeah. And that's why it all comes down to community alignment, I guess, and having a vision. One final point is that I don't think that Opcat is necessarily any kind of holy grail. Like, the game plan here, roughly speaking, is they're going to get Opcat, and then that will enable this BitVM, also unproven and overcomplicated, if somewhat promising potential, and then they can have L2s, and then they can be sort of like Ethereum but not really, and then they can somehow or another get to global reserve currency, right? That's about as shaky as the game plan is at this point. But Opcat is good. I'm in favor of Opcat. BCH has Opcat and has for many years, but it's just very telling that they're having to fight this huge battle over this one small thing. Think about how much time and effort and energy they're spending on this. It's absolutely ludicrous. And on BCH, we just implemented it because it's a good idea, but it's like one of many good ideas. You need a lot more than just, okay, we've got this change through, and therefore, so even in the case that they did get it through, I guess that would be bullish in the sense that it would set the precedent that maybe they could get more changes through, and that would be the argument from them as to, first we have to win a small battle before we win a big one. But certainly Opcat is going to be hyped up as the next Lightning Network panacea to everything, and then in reality it will fail to deliver on that as they slowly discover over several years that maybe they were barking up the wrong tree. So just another round of predictions from me there. Okay, we've got community comment of the week this week. It comes from BTC Capsule, but he was firstly replying to John Carvalho, who commented, "Me patiently waiting for the high fees to drive Lightning adoption," and that meme of Pablo Escobar from Narcos standing around waiting in prison. And then BTC Capsule replied to him and said, "The only thing gaining adoption in this high fee environment is Bitcoin Cash. We need Drive Chain before everyone figures out they only have 21 million coins and the block size war was not as intellectually honest as people think," end quote. So we've gone from the scammers that everybody hates to overnight being an imminent threat that is going to run them over unless they make some big moves. So we can really see what stage the narrative collapse is at. What did you make of this, Caesar?
Yeah, I would agree with that. We're definitely knocking on the door, where we've kind of been the annoying second cousin, right? Like whatever. People have definitely put BCH down. I would say it's had a lot of doubts surrounding it, but it really doesn't. Again, like I said, I'm not like a developer. I'm not that like intelligent as far as, or maybe not intelligent. I'm not that knowledgeable in the sense of like a lot of the things that go on whenever we talk about like stuff like that. I'm not wording it properly here, but what I do know is psychology, and what I do know is people. And whenever you have something that is genuinely better, but people are just discounting it, that's a storm for some good things to come. You know, the fact that BCH hasn't fizzled out into nothing, and it's maintained its relevance, and it actually, unlike, and this is what a lot of people don't know, because it doesn't take much to figure this out, but BCH is utilized in the real world for real world assets more than 99% of cryptos are out there. You know, not saying that there aren't other cryptos. You know, Dogecoin, Tesla implemented some stuff you could purchase. The Mavericks. There's people that accept Dogecoin as payments. BTC, obviously, Ethereum, like that. There are things that are accepted for real world assets, but Bitcoin Cash is utilized a lot more than a lot of cryptos are out there for this purpose. And isn't the Prime Minister, didn't Roger Ver get the Prime Minister of St. Kitts? I think he's the Prime Minister. Doesn't he take his salary in BCH?
Well, we had what's his name? Rolando Bryson was taking his salary in BCH, but he's just the member for Parliament in St. Martin. So you had the Prime Minister promise a report on adopting BCH's legal tender, which he then never delivered. So we got rugged on that one.
Gotcha. But at a time he did then. But yeah, I don't know. There's people. I've got people in my Discord, you know, who follow my channel that have told me that they deal with BCH in Australia regularly. Like that's like a huge part of his business actually. And you know, I know in the eastern part of the world, in Asia, you know, there's been a lot of adoption spread throughout there as well. I loved watching Roger Ver's videos whenever he would show just all the places, all the things he could buy just with BCH, back when he was just handing out $5 of BCH to random people all the time, you know, like spreading the adoption. You know, it's utilized more. That's more being actually used. Whether the amount, the volume of it's gone down or not, you know, that doesn't change the fact that BCH is still in the works and that it's still got room to grow. But the fact that it's actually been transacted in the real world is something that most cryptos only promise and never deliver, you know, or like maybe they have the opportunity to deliver it, but nobody wants to use it as a means of exchange. But so yes, back to the comment there. I think that BCH is a sleeping dragon, and that's why we call it the dragon. Around these parts, yeah, Dragon Riders, the House of the Dragon, yeah. And it's waking up. It's waking up right now. She's shaking off her tail feather, or I guess scales, and ready to take to the skies, man.
Absolutely. Okay, we got question of the week. It comes from Callisti, who said, what are the most exciting upcoming BCH developments in 2024? What are you most excited or hopeful for, speculative or currently existing? Caesar, what are you looking at for the BCH community to be delivering the rest this year? Anything you're particularly hyped or hopeful that we'll see?
I don't know. Honestly, just more adoption is always encouraged. You know, I don't really. Again, I'm not as involved as you guys. Like I wasn't aware that I was taking you for a drive for your first time on TradingView today. You know, there's a lot of things, and I watch a lot of your shows, and there are a lot of things that kind of go over my head, and I look into them or I don't. But I try to avoid in my side of the world, in my area of things with trading, I try to avoid the media. You know, I'm aware of things to a certain degree, but I try not to let that affect my decisions, because I feel like if you listen to the media, that can, even if it's a good thing or even if it is a bad thing, like objectively, that doesn't have an objective impact on the charts, and it can mess with you if you let it get to you too much. So I kind of do steer away from that. But as far as what I'd be looking for BCH, other than just probably a slew of things that I'm unaware of that are going on in the background right now that most people might even be unaware with, I'd like to see more adoption. I think that's always good, you know, being utilized in the real world and just making a name for itself, even if people still believe it's a scam, which I think a lot of people are turning their nose to that and saying, hold up now, this, you know, there's something to this here. just more adoption is always good.
Yeah, solid. Jet, what's your take? What are you looking for in 2024?
I think the most exciting thing for me right now, and I just saw the announcement about it this morning, not even an announcement, just a teaser, is seeing what the BCH Guru guys do for what I assume is elections predictions. And especially when we have people that have skin in the game, like I do love money as a signal in the whole signal to noise ratio of the world. And I want to see some monetary prediction markets for things that actually affect people's lives. And I think the Guru team has done a great job so far. So, but that I don't want to discount anything that I'm not aware of. There's going to be things I'm sure that come up that are going to be awesome and just exciting. And I'll talk about it when we get there. But yeah, I've been kind of outside of the developer space for Bitcoin Cash for a while. Just what I get exposed to on the podcast.
All right, VCH gurus, you got some hype to deliver on there. Then my answer is Bliss. I mean, obviously, it's only in a couple weeks. We've been preparing it and planning it for a long time. I'm sure there's going to be announcements there, and it's just going to be sick to see everyone in person. When we're in St. Kitts, we had that clip in the intro of all of us like partying with Sunny, spraying us with champagne. That was sick. That was so cool. And I'm really looking forward to, there's going to be some people at Bliss that were at St. Kitts that I'm going to be able to see again for a second time. And it's been like a year and a half at this point. So it'd be really good to catch up with them. And then there's going to be also a whole nother contingent of people that I haven't met in person before. So I'm just super stoked about that. It's going to be excellent. I think Abla is also going to be amazing. It's not exactly undervalued because I think everybody, especially in BCH, is already so hyped and big on it. But it's the kind of thing that once you get it done and delivered, then it will just start paying off exponentially over time, both literally and figuratively. So I'm super excited for once that's done, and then we'll just start working on the next thing, right? It's just like cash tokens now. It's just a fact of life, and that was so hyped for so long, and now we're starting to see stuff come out of it. It'll be the same. We'll get Abla in, everyone will be like, yep, that checked off the list, and then we'll start growing a bit of demand for blocks, and before you know it, like the limit will start ticking up and the community will start talking about it and being excited about it. So I would say that as well. And one other thing, which is kind of incumbent on me to actually deliver, is I've promised for a long time that we're going to get active user tracking into Selene. And recently, though, I haven't had time to really do that because we've been doing the Bliss prep. But after that, if I can get it so that we can have a number go up of how many people are daily sort of transacting peer-to-peer cash on Selene, I think that would be super hype. So those are my answers. All right, we got meme of the week. This one I really enjoyed. This has got to be one of my favorite meme of the weeks we've ever had. It's what if Eminem was Satoshi? It comes from Love is Bitcoin 21 on Twitter.
If it ever loads. Hold on, let me refresh.
Been sitting in that tab too.
I got a fiber optic connection here, so I know my internet's
all right, meme of the
solid.
week's canceled, guys. Luckily, we can all edit this out of the.
Yeah, I can. I'll download this
the recorded
and throw it
version.
in the edit.
Oh, god damn it! We're not gonna get it played here. Maybe we'll have to just link it to everyone in the chat, and then they can listen to it themselves. I did want to get a reaction into this because it's so good. Here we go. I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah.
Put it up in my other tab. Okay, all right. Well, Twitter's not going to play ball for us, so Caesar, we got the link on the slides there. You're totally not going to let it. Oh, here we go. All right. Let me just ping you this link so you can have a quick listen to it.
Okay.
But it's on the slides. And then we'll get a quick take on that. Hang on. Here we go. Boom.
Like this. Y'all act like you never seen crypto before.
So there you have it. One of the best Eminem ad libs I've ever heard. For anybody who doesn't know, the original song is The Real Slim Shady by Eminem. Fantastic and absolute banger. So go listen to the original. And as a rap enjoyer, this one also really impressed me, where he's not only hit several different little rhyming couplets in there, but he's also kept it in the style and in the tone of the original. Like each concept kind of matches up to what he swapped out of the original lyrics. So super impressive stuff there. And it does seem that he's just doing it straight off the top of his head. So that is some mad impressive creativity. Cesar, are you an Eminem fan?
I love Eminem, man. I love Eminem. Yeah, I think he's great. I love all his music, man. Yeah, he's good. He's the GOAT, man. I think he's the greatest of all time.
I agree with you. Hot takes starting up here, but yeah, he's the number one for me. Rap music just can't do any better. But I'm horribly biased on that. I don't know. It was one of my first CDs that I ever had. I had Ella Funk by the Black Eyed Peas. Then I got Good Girl Gone Bad Reloaded, Rihanna. And then the third one I got was Curtain Call, Eminem, 2005. Like, that's some great albums there. If you don't know any of that music, go check it out. You're in for a treat. Some early 2000s specials right there. Okay, we got message to the community. You know how it goes. You get a chance to tell the Bitcoin Cash community what they need to hear from your point of view. What's it going to be?
From my point of view, what they need to hear from my point of view. Assuming that anything that I say matters in the grand scheme of it all. I don't know. What I would say is try not to be animalistic, because there will be a bunch of people who are converting from BTC to BCH, or they might be hopping on that train, people that never gave it a chance before. Don't be the hyenas laughing at them, being like, I told you all along. Be the guiding hand that helps them along the journey, like show them, inform them, don't harass them if they're not aware. They're not going to be aware. They're not going to have been following. I've been following BCH since its inception, and I'm far from aware of even half the things that go on with it. Like people who are just now getting on it, educate them. If they have questions, don't laugh at them. Don't be a dick. Just educate them, and share what you know. And if you don't know, then why are you laughing in the first place? Like that, just because someone's on late doesn't mean. I'm just saying this because this is the internet. I see it in my own experience, like all the time, just with various things. So don't be animalistic, be helpful. And the main reason I say that is because we're gonna get a lot of traffic from all walks of life in crypto, and from new adoption as well. It's coming. This is probably the first cycle for BCH to really shine in the spotlight as far as that goes. So be welcoming.
Absolutely, co-sign that 100%. Yeah, fantastic. And you're right. I think the community's in a strong place where we're seeing the panic is starting. Like, wait, we can't keep ignoring these guys any longer. And of course, when somebody is panicking, somebody else is thinking, you know what? I'm not going to be the last one off the sinking ship. So let me just go get involved with BCH ahead of time. And as much as possible, we should definitely be welcoming and educational to those people. Obviously, if they're still coming with some copes and baggage, you can still call them out, because you can't have them bringing that nonsense over here. But if they want to be part of things and they are coming, curious and in good faith, then react appropriately to that. Okay, we've got our supporter. Oh, go on. Do you want to add something?
Yeah, I was gonna say this is crypto. If people are talking shit, you can talk shit back. Then there's nothing. you don't. But if people are saying things that are just, maybe it's like, come on, man, are you dumb? But like, are you silly? Like, what are you saying? They probably don't know. So help them out. Help them know. Maybe they don't believe in BCH, and they say something that isn't true. You can inform them, and then they might not take it. They might still insult you, but they might later, away from your face, they might reconcile it, look it up on their own, and then come back to it. And you might not ever see them again, but you might have just gotten one more person on the BCH chain, which adoption, I think, is crucial to anything, obviously. So
yeah,
talk that smack. If someone's talking smack to you, talk it back. Go for, yeah, whatever. There's no shame in that. But if people genuinely just don't know something, that's on you to understand that, not laugh at that or tell them they're on their own. Because you can say they're on their own, but the more people that we have to adopt, the better off we all are.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, our big shout out to our donators, as always, our patrons, Ricky and HP, our sponsors, General Protocols. Check out bchbull.com. You had Emergent Reasons in the chat saying BCH Bull has max 5x leverage, except USD, which is 7.77. So he was co-signing Cesar that 5x leverage should be more than enough, I imagine. Do you do any trading on BCH Bull, Cesar?
I haven't been trading at all for BCH. I've wanted to, but I have a daughter. This is the first bull cycle I've had that I have a daughter. I'm taking it tremendously more seriously than I ever have in my entire life, and that also, I think, corresponds with why I started a channel. It's not, my degen days are past me, and there are plenty of people who are day traders who they might seem like degenerates, but they actually know what they're doing, but those days are behind me. I don't, sorry, to just get back to the main point, I don't day trade BCH. I buy, and when it goes down, I buy more, and then when it's time, I will sell some. I have a plan for offloading, and I could share that if you.
Well, if you want to, but have a plan and stick to it for sure.
Yeah, and this is my plan. It's not financial advice, And there are probably plenty of people who have a similar plan to this. It's a pretty basic plan, but it's to, just as I'm DCAing in, dollar cost average DCA into BCH, as in I'm buying here, buying there, buying everywhere. I'm going to stop buying about a year after the BCH, or actually, no, it's about 8 months after the BCH halving. That'd be probably the last time I buy. So it's not based on price for me. It's based on time. Because I do think, based off of the cycles we've seen so far, we've probably got a year to year and a half left in this cycle, if not longer. There's a good case to be made for even longer. A lot of people think it'll be shorter. Maybe it is, and in which case the signs will be there. We'll know to change the plan. You can always change your plan. Don't hold true to it. Hold true to it, but if things that are critical change, you have to be open-minded enough to be fluid enough and make a new plan, And you might not get out at the most ideal time, but at least you can still make plays where you're still in the green, and you can get out and wait for lower prices to come and DCA in on another cycle, whatever. But my plan, to just make it short and simple, is to DCA out probably starting about a year from now, and then going until a year and a half from now. But I'll start DCAing out with a very small amount of money. Like if I have a whole total of 100% of my BCH, I might sell 5% one month, another 5% the next month, 10% as we get closer to that 6-month period, or if there are signs in the charts that suggest to me that we're going to see a more immediate sell-off, I might do larger bags. But the goal is to not buy in all at once, and the goal is to not get out all at once, because when you're dealing with a substantial amount of cash, you're not going to have an easy time selling all that. And with the amount I have in BCH, I'm assuming it'll only grow, so it's
yes.
not the amount of money that I want to just market sell or like sell all in one go, even at what I have now, let alone to what it'll grow to. So DCAing out, that's just kind of my plan. It's simple, it's not hard, but not based on price. I have ideas for price. I have projections for price. I hope they come true. I hope it exceeds it, but it's not about that. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about, and we do have a time limit. It's not going to be forever. So I think a year to a year and a half from now, that window will be a perfect time to get out. And maybe I won't start DCAing out in exactly a year from now. I'll as we get closer to that time, that's still a lot of time away, but for the time being, we're in accumulation mode. And basically until the end of this year, we're going to be in accumulation mode, in my opinion. Every dip is worth buying, and the risk, in my opinion, for BCH right now is low, even at these prices.
Love to hear. Do you want to have a stab, at the Christmas episode? We're going to be checking in on the price predictions that people did. Being the technical analyst that you are, do you want to have a flyer stab on 25th ish of December this year? What's the price? BCH?
25th. All right. I'll tell you. I said it again, or I said it earlier. Time analysis is not my strong suit. It's a different game. You can guess the price and it'll go there, but when is the question? So BCH, I'm thinking by December 25th. Do I have to give an exact price, or can I give a range?
Yeah. Well, you can give a range if you want, but I think we picked
an exact price.
Yeah. Like ideally, I had one. I think mine was like over $1,000, something like that, like the $1,000-ish range.
Okay. Let me see. Let me give it an honest go here.
You've got two advantages. You've got 4 months extra of data to look at, and you're a pro chart guy. So, the reps on the line here, mate.
Hell yeah. Let's see. That price area you're looking at, it would make sense to go to about, I'd say, over 1,000, but I'm going to say we'll be over by December 25th, man. It's hard. Okay, I'm going to give it a range, and then I'm going to give what I think. I'm going to give the number that I genuinely think. So the range is between 1,200 and 3,700. That's the range.
Okay, yeah.
If I had to really guess, I'm gonna hit it with that last cycle high at, I think we're going to be over 1,700.
Okay.
By Christmas. That's my guess, 1,700.
All right, so a little lower. I think Ryan said 2K on the Christmas show. So, all right, you're in there. We'll get you in there for the prediction. We'll check in at the end of the year. All right, we also got to just shout out the Flipstarter contributors: Majumali Marcelo, Shadow of Harbinger, Molecular, BTC Fork, Adam Back, Big V, Cheap Lighting, Emergent Reasons, Imaginary Username, Yeah Beer, Brian Kanachi. That's the end of this Flipstarter 4. We've delivered all our episodes, so we'll be doing another one probably in the run-up to or after Bliss to keep the show going for another 10 episodes. But obviously, we'll be back for that. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Obviously, you can check out the start guide, FAQ, and links at bitcoincashpodcast.com. If you're new to the show, listen to episode 85. Check out Celine Wallet at celine.cash. We've got some bug fixes rolling out for that too. That's always getting better. And final shout outs. Caesar, where can people find more of you? And is there anything you want to give a special shout out to?
Special shout out to my mom. I love you, Mom. But I don't know. Special shout out, I would say Mitch Ray. We referenced him a few times. If anybody hasn't seen his channel, I think he's worth checking out. I don't watch him as often, and I've got my reasons for that. I really like Mitch Ray, but there are some people that are associated with the channel who just haven't been the kindest to me. But I'm not trying to say that. I wish I didn't actually even say that, because who cares? You guys said you can edit things out. I don't know. If I could like retake, I would say shout out to Mitch Ray, because we referenced him, a good bit on the show. I think he's got valuable insight and skills in the TA world. I've even learned from him personally, and then not like directly, not one-on-one. I was a member of his Patreon at one point, but Eric Crown also, if anybody wants to learn TA, Eric Crown I think is also a good one to go through. There's Kevin Svensson, there's a bunch of technical analysts that I'm probably missing. Even as much as the BCH community might not like him, Tone Vase I think has valuable insights. Yes. I think he's got skills, not always, but he's pretty good. He's got a more conservative approach, and I think that can be good, especially for new people to kind of understand that. But take everything he says with a grain of salt. Understand that he absolutely hates BCH. So and probably just because he doesn't like Roger. Like, that's probably what it is, and that to me is just silly. But enough about that. If I had any closing statements that I wanted to make, I would just say that I do think BCH is going to go lower from here. Counter to what Mitch was saying, I do think that we're going to see. I do think we'll go up. I think right now, historically speaking, we're in a phase of consolidation. So I think it's going to be boring. We're not going to start to see moves up until probably. I would expect at the earliest the end of May, but more likely, in my opinion, it's going to be July or August. I think it's going to be boring. We're used to that. We've seen that the last two moves up, where we consolidated a long bit beforehand and then we moved up. So I think we're just going to consolidate for a little bit, be boring. Every dip is an opportunity for buying, and I think we're going to go to about $400. We could go to around 380, 390. And if we go lower, don't panic sell. Treat it as an opportunity that it is to just buy some cheap BCH. Not financial advice. Do what you want. It's your money. When you make money, I'm not going to come for your gains, so don't come at me if you make losses, But I do expect we're going to go down probably sometime early, if not in the middle of May. We should be at that 400 level. And then we found our low, but that doesn't mean it's time to go yet. I'm expecting that we're just going to move sideways for months. We'll pump, we'll dump, we'll move sideways. There'll be excitement, there will be despair. It's just the name of the game. But then inevitably, probably toward Q3, I would say Q3, if not late Q2, I would expect we start to move up. And what I mean by that is we'll see new highs for the year, new highs for the cycle. We'll probably be moving our way up to those targets we were talking about for December. And I know I said 1,700, but we could genuinely be like above 3.5K by the end of this year too. It wouldn't be crazy. It could happen. But time will tell.
Time will tell. I hope we see it. Jet, shout outs.
I guess Cesar for teaching me some of the trading view stuff. That was fun, because I remember in 2017 playing around with the website, but nothing ever clicked for me, and just being like from the top to the low. And I watched probably 40 hours of TA YouTube videos over the years, and I just nothing ever clicked. And just doing that hands-on with someone over my shoulder, being like, no, do this, it finally clicked. Second shout out is everyone that I'll see at Bliss. I'm super pumped, especially the people that I met in St. Kitts. I hope to see as many people as possible. Buy those tickets, folks. If you're not coming, get on board. Like, change your plans. You're coming.
Yeah. And my shout out goes to a lovely young lady called Alba, who I met last night, and I was onboarding to Celine Wallet, and it only just occurred to me now as I was thinking this shout out that obviously we had the whole Jessica Alba thing and Abla and all that. But anyway, genuinely her first name was Alba, and she was great, and I hope she listens to this episode because she's very liberty minded. And that's how we got onto this topic. So the good word of BCH getting out there on a day-by-day basis, putting in my, groundwork on the fresh adopters. So hopefully she listens in and enjoys the show. Thank you very much for listening, everyone. Until next time.
take on the world. Your bubblegum shades and your green hair. When you show up, everyone stares. Save your free economy. Yeah, it's the perfect drug for me. Hey, we left behind the BTC and found a big Costco hot dog for you and me. This, bitch, you know you are mine. This. Jessica, habla, babe. When I'm with you, what can I say? When we're together, baby, I got no fear. All my transactions are